Man, I can't believe it, folks. 90 years old. Elvis Presley would be celebrating his 90th birthday if he was still with us. Can you believe it, folks? I can't. I just can't believe it. And I figured I had to do something to honor that date, this date, honor Elvis in some way. I've made a lot of videos about Elvis over the years. I've been on YouTube. You can go back. I think I've created a playlist about it, about Elvis. But I just was flabbergasted when it hit me that January 8th, 2025, Elvis would have been 90. And here's where it all started for me, right here, folks, with this album. I was a little boy, 7 years old. Well, I had turned 7 in the summer of '68. And that December, you might have heard me talk about my cousins, my uncle and aunt. He was my godfather, and my 3 older cousins, boys, who got me into the Beatles along with my parents buying the records. The Beatles were first, obviously, in '64. But late in that decade, I used to just look up to my cousins and my aunt and uncle and my mom. It was her older brother. We would go over their house frequently. That's where we saw the Beatles. That's where we saw a lot of things. And one of the things we went over my uncle's house to see in Providence, Rhode Island, in December of '68 was the Elvis Presley NBC special, or now known as the Comeback Special. And the reason we would go over my uncles and my cousins to see these shows, because they had the best setup. I've told you about it before. They had like the 6-foot-long oak piece of furniture stereo console. You know the one. It had the 2 speakers on each side, which at the time were state-of-the-art. It had the AM, FM, or AM at least radio on the top, along with a turntable. They might have had an 8-track player, I'm not sure. A little spot in the side where you slid open a door and all your records could go in there. You could keep other equipment or stereo cleaning stuff, whatever. And then right in the front center was a television, and it was a color TV. We didn't have a color TV in the late '60s, but my aunt and uncle did with my cousins. So whenever the big shows were on, a move, whatever, we would be over there to see it. And we were there in December of '68 to see the Elvis Presley special, NBC special, Comeback Special. That's when it hit me, folks, where the realization of Elvis and his music hit me and have stuck with me for the better part of close to 50-something years. Wow, I can't believe it. Anyway, I was a Beatle nut, as you know, from '64 when I was a little boy. Mom and Dad buying me the records, but that's when I became aware of Elvis. December of '68. And it was shortly thereafter that this was the first album I heard of Elvis, because this came out right around the time that the special came out. And my aunt and uncle, or my cousins, bought this album, the Elvis NBC soundtrack album. And I remember being at their house. You know, remember I told you I used to go over my cousins and they would play me Beatles records when I was little. Well, this was played. And I just remember enjoying it and liking it and looking at it and the pictures. And after seeing the special, I was drawn to Elvis and his music. And that's where it started for me, folks, right here with this. So on the occasion of Elvis's, what would have been his 90th birthday, I want to just share that story with you. And I'll share another story with you. So this was the first that got me into Elvis, '68. But then it was a few years after that. This was the first Elvis album I got on my own. And it's not much of an Elvis album. It's like there's 2 LPs and they're stuffed into one cardboard sleeve. It's mostly live material. The back cover is basically the same almost as the front cover. This was one of those RCA clearinghouse specials. I was like 11 years old. And I remember Columbia House, pay a penny, get 11 records. Remember RCA had the same type of setup. Pay a nickel, get 15 records, but then you have to buy so many. You know the deal. Well, I did it when I was 11 or so. Mom and Dad helped me. I picked a bunch of albums. I forget what I picked. I remember having the Kinks and some compilation albums. But this was one I picked for whatever reason. So that's my first Elvis album right here. And like I said, mostly live stuff. But I thought I'd share with you folks because it is hard to believe that it's been so long since the birth of Elvis Presley, 90 years ago. Oh my goodness. I just can't believe it. And the man passed away 48 years ago almost. Wow. 42 years old. He was just a kid. Yeah, yeah. I'm 63. If I could be 42 again. Oh my goodness. God bless Elvis. You know, you'll have to wonder if he had taken better care of himself, if maybe more people were looking out for him. And, you know, with the medications and then the heart issues he had and all kinds of physical ailments at the end, if somehow he had pulled it together, you know, and got his health back on track. I'm not saying he would have lived till 90, but, you know, maybe he would have lived a good, normal, long life, 75 to 85 range or something. Who knows? Maybe he would have made it to 90. I don't know. I think Guy, for a while there, he was into working out and health and stuff. It's a shame what happened, though. But anyway, I thought I'd show you a couple of quick albums that I have so much Elvis. I could show you a ton. I'll just whip out a few here and show you that I like. I love this one for LP fans only. Highly recommend it. It's got some really cool stuff on there. Check that out if you like. This is a classic. Anyone who's an Elvis fan loves this one. That's the way it is. You kind of have to have this one if you're into Elvis. I'm not going to go into too much about each one and what's on it and all that. Yeah, I mean, you know, if you're into Elvis, you know Elvis. I'm just sharing some of my favorites here. This is one of those later year compilation ones where like RCA would throw something together, but on many occasions they would put together some bangers, some really good ones. And this one, Guitar Man, is one of my favorites. I really think they hit it out of the park with this one, folks. Again, not sure how it's going to translate, but I'll do my best. Just great, great stuff on here from that period of Elvis's career. Oh, gee, I just love it so much. Faded Love, I'm Moving On, Guitar Man, all that good stuff. You can't go wrong with any of Elvis's gold record volume series, 1 through 5, I think it was. It might have been a 6, I'm not sure. 5 has always been one of my favorites because it's later period Elvis. You know, it's got all the cool songs I loved when I was a kid. Burning Love when I was 11 or 12. Suspicious Minds is on here. Just a great, great, great one. For the Heart, Moody Blue is on here, Way Down. Kentucky Rain, In the Ghetto. I mean, it's just a great compilation of later period Elvis. Highly recommended. Another one. And you want to get the double set for this one. Elvis in Person at the International Hotel. And it's on stage in Vegas, from Memphis to Vegas. This is a great one to get, folks. I'm sure you've seen this cover before. Very well known. I've got my records out so they're protecting the cover. But anyway, that's a good one I highly recommend. You all know this. You got to have this one from Elvis in Memphis. This was the one that came from those stellar sessions after the '68 comeback show. In early '69, Elvis went back in the studio and probably put together his finest group of songs ever onto this album. This is fabulous. However, the one I really love is when they took from that album and other material from, you know, back in Memphis and stuff, and they put out this. I've always loved this compilation, folks. I like the way it's mixed. I like the way it sounds. I just love it. 69 Year in Review, the Memphis record. Highly recommended, folks. This is one of my favorite Elvis albums ever right here. I mean, I love all the material from this period. But I mean, you know, I've got tons of it. But this is like my go-to. I love it. All right, so that's a highly recommended from Matt Street. Couple more, I'll be out of here, folks. I just want to pay tribute to the King on what would have been his 90th birthday. When Elvis got out of the Army, people could say, oh, after the Army, Elvis. Sorry, Elvis put a lot of great stuff out after the Army, and this is one of them. The first album after he got back. Elvis is Back. And a picture of him as a soldier on the back there. But this is great stuff, folks. This is, I mean, absolutely amazing. And there was a lot more from these sessions that went on subsequent releases, but this was the original first one when he got out of the Army. Elvis is Back, and I can't recommend it enough, folks. Check it out. Another one of those put together later compilations that I really love. Again, A lot of times RCA nailed it. And I always felt on this one, Elvis, I'm Leaving, they did a great job. This is a great standalone album, folks. If you can find this, I can't say enough about Elvis, I'm Leaving. All right. Again, I'm not going to read every song and everything. I'll try to hold it up. Hopefully it translates for you. Folks, pick this up. I'm telling you. And you Elvis fans out there, if you have it, vouch for me here. This is a great, great later RCA compilation. I'm Leaving, Elvis. I love this album. Love it. Another one, after he got out of the Army, years later, Elvis Country. Great, great album. You know, came out after the Elvis and Memphis stuff. But boy, he went back in the studio and he put out a great, great album right here, folks. Elvis Country is highly, highly recommended. Can't beat it. Another after-the-fact RCA compilation, but I've always loved it. Came out around 85, I think, 1985. I've always loved this. Elvis, Rocker. They took some of his most rocking songs, early stuff, and put it onto this one compilation, and it's a banger. Wow, this thing rocks. This, to me, is like almost as good as having the Sun Sessions. You know, Sun Sessions you got to have too. Did I pull that one out? Oh, yeah. I'm going to share. You got to have the Sun Sessions in whatever form you can get them. They come in many forms. Got to have the Sun Sessions, okay? Highly recommended. But I also recommend Elvis Rocker as one of those later period compilations put together by RCA. Fantastic. After Elvis passed, this was like, I like this because in subsequent decades, they put out a lot of stuff of Elvis stripped down on these packages that have come out where they take out a lot of the background vocalist and background lushness and all that. And it's just straightforward Elvis. His vocals are right up front. The instrumentation is right up front. Love that stuff. Love it. But the first one, and I think, unless someone can correct me if I'm wrong, was this one. Not long after Elvis passed, the Colonel and his dad Vernon put this out, our Memories of Elvis. And basically what they did is they took songs and released them in their natural state, more stripped back, more simplified, more in your face. No, a lot of the lushness is peeled away. A lot of the screaming background vocalists peeled away, and you get pure Elvis here and instruments. Great stuff. And this was the first of that, what we've seen much of since then. So I'm going to list this as one of my recommendations too. Our Memories of Elvis is a great one. And a lot of people, make fun of his soundtracks and that, but sometimes some of his soundtracks are pretty silly and fun. This is one I happen to like, Clam Bake. There's something about Clam Bake that just, it makes me smile. Maybe it's funny. I don't know, but I like it. And when Elvis sings some of these songs, I got to tell you, Guitar Man's on here. Big Boss Man is on here. There's some good stuff on here. Just Call Me Lonesome. I mean, I got to say, folks, it's Clam Bake. It's not a bad little soundtrack. I love it. So that's pretty much it, folks. Like I said, but it all goes back to here for me. And hearing this album in my aunt and uncle's living room with my cousins, and, seeing the show first, but then going back to the house later when they picked this up and then playing this for me. And that's when I got hooked on Elvis for life. So, Elvis, happy birthday. Happy 90th birthday. Unbelievable, folks. That's it. I hope I didn't take up too much of your time here. Please like and comment and please subscribe if you care to. Helps my channel's growth. I'd appreciate it. But God bless Elvis Presley. I wish we had had many more years with the King. We can only imagine what he would have produced and what he would have done had he had lived longer. God bless you, King. We love you. Bye-bye, everybody.